Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I typically do reviews or reactions to the news, politics, things like that. Today, I am doing a review on the first episode of Love Island South Africa. This is its first season, and it's very clear based off of the editing and everything going on in this episode. And if people ask me to get this out of the way now, I do not have a link for the episode. I found it online and you had to pay to use that link, and I don't know if it's really reputable all the time. I just literally found it online and then it broke after watching it. So I do not have access to it anymore, and I apologize for that, but I was able to watch the first one. I do not know how it's gonna be moving forward because I'm in America and it airs in South Africa and they're really stringent on it being specifically only in Africa. So we'll see if I can continue doing this moving forward, but Lord, first off, it is the lack of diversity for me. This is not a spoiler in any way. There is one Black woman and one Black man. We'll get into all that and the demographics of South Africa at the very end. Don't worry, I'll get there. But first, we start going through the women. First, we have Melly. She's 20 and she's a tanned blonde. I was thinking she looked almost Black-ish on Instagram, but she's tan blonde, racially ambiguous, can't really tell. We'll see. Next, we see the second girl, and I don't think she introduced herself when she first came on. And also, we do not have their Instagram handles on the background like they typically do, you know, when they advertise them. They have photos in like black and white that are kind of blown up, but it's not like their Instagram handles, so we know their name and they're following before this. Don't see any of that, just kind of grainy home photos or just photos, again, they pulled from their Instagram, but not advertising it. Why? I don't know. We have other seasons to have this stuff because we can creep on them, but it was not accessible in that way. But that's also how I didn't know what her name was at first. And I had to search her name while I was watching it to know what her name was because, again, I didn't see her say it. Her name is Erin, curly brown hair, that's who she is. Next, we see the only Black girl that we're aware of. Yes, I understand that people come in later, but there's the OGs and then like the new people. As an OG, there's only one Black woman. We hate to see it, but I love the box braids. I don't ever see box braids on these shows, let alone this. I think the only time I've ever seen braids or twists of any sort was season 2, and it was a girl from Casa Amor. Otherwise, it's just weaves and wigs, which I'm not against. I'm wearing a wig right now, but I just love to see braids because it's rare and the Black representation that we need, kind of, but it's one woman, so is it really representation? But the audio cut out when the next girl came. Forewarning, the audio cuts out a lot. There's times when they're talking and it's silent. There's cut scenes when someone's walking, it's supposed to be dramatic, silent. Don't know if that's intentional. Okay, no, it's not intentional. I don't know why it's happening, but it happens often. I saw it on Twitter. I was like, oh, maybe it's a fluke. Maybe it's not that bad. I was counting to see how many times it happened because it was that bad with the whole audio. And I don't know if they don't rewatch this when they post this stuff, but sorry, really awkward. But it cut out when she walked in and they failed to show her name also, but later on found out her name is Summer. Blonde girl, blonde straight hair, white girl. That's the cast. Next, we see Rochelle, and she's 23. Tall, skinny, white girl with long brown hair. She looks like a model because she's very, very slender, but also tall, beautiful. That's what I got from her introduction. Next, what I've got from all the girls, they like teeth, white teeth, good white teeth. Like that's all they're really talking about aside from the tan and dark. When they say tan, I like a dark man, it's tanned. Like a white tan guy, which is fine. But whenever they say the tall, dark, and handsome, I'm almost assuming Black because dark, but tan guys. I'm like, okay, you guys got a lot of that. Again, there's only one Black man, so of course y'all are gonna get what you want, but just saying. Next, the host comes out like usual. She typically takes the girls who are already come out and introduce themselves and have them kind of just talk amongst themselves in a group and then kind of ask them their preferences and what they're looking for on the show. Everyone's saying like they're trying to find either a husband, they're trying to find love, they're trying to find something spontaneous, just different answers. They're all talking about what they want. And she's like, all right, this is the chance. You're gonna go stand up and line up. And then when the men come out, you're gonna stand forward and they're gonna pick you. Sorry, I hate to be this person. But I have PTSD from all the Black women who are the OGs when they first start out. They'll step forward for a man, Black or not Black, and they don't get picked. They're the last ones to get picked. They're the last option. They get like tossed around. So I already have PTSD for homegirl Timna, the Black woman with braids. So I'm like, please do not screw her over. I know there's a Black man, but like, will she step forward for other men? They won't pick her, or what's the dealio? So first guy was Jay. Melly was the only girl who stepped forward for him, and there was no suspense whatever. It was like, Jay, who are you picking? Melly. Okay, walked over. I was like, oh, we don't even have like the aerial view. We don't have like the, ooh, you step forward. It was just like, all right, Melly. I'm like, okay, that's it. The second guy was Cage. He was cocky and arrogant in his little confessional thingy with the Instagram handle page that wasn't an Instagram handle, it was just photos. And when he walked forward, and with that cockiness, it led to people not standing forward for him, and he kind of got angry about it later. I understand there's like confidence and stuff. When you're cocky like that, people don't like that. I know that that's some people's personalities. Don't be fake about it. Like, don't hide that if that is you. But what do you expect from girls when you're doing that? They're not going to want to like jump forward at you because they're kind of like grossed out essentially. But no one did. And again, he complained about it later. He ended up pairing up with Summer though. She was one of the blonde women, one of the 3 out of the 5, so over half. So he paired up with Summer. The third guy was named Assad. He's a personal trainer, and I just felt like I wanted to comment that there's always at least one personal trainer on the season. Not saying it's a bad thing. I just kind of observe like, what are the people's professions when they come on here? And maybe it's just an easier kind of profession to just like put on pause and come on a show like this. Because you're gone for a few months. It's not like any job you can just drop and like come on a show for 2 months and like drop everything. Sorry. But he's like a tanned, darker man. I don't know his ethnicity, but he's not white from my presumptions. The women that stepped forward for Assad was Timna and Aaron. I don't really want to say this, but I didn't even need him to say who he wanted to be with for me to know who he was going to select. In his little confessional thingy, he's like, I like olive skin. Okay, that's fine. That's totally fine. Again, that's totally fine. I love interracial love. But it was between an olive-ish skin white girl and a black girl. So with him saying that, I already knew if he wasn't going to pick her. But what irritated me was kind of like a moment. It was time for him to select, right? And then the host was like, okay, so who are you gonna pick? It's like, I'm gonna pick the beautiful, and then the host finished it for him and said, Aaron. Like, he didn't even say it himself. So I'm like, I know I read into things if you've seen my other reviews. He didn't even finish his statement. All he said was beautiful. So are you insinuating that Tima isn't beautiful? Because you kind of answered it for him. I don't know if he was looking at her, trying to like, because I know you don't know their name when you first get there. So like maybe sometimes they're like the girl in the pink bikini, the green one, but like, let him finish his words or point at least. Don't say it for him. I don't know. That was just weird on my mindset. But that's what happened. He picked Aaron. So that was Temna stepping forward and not getting selected. Again, that happens. I understand that. But I had that PTSD because this happens to Black women on every season, unfortunately. The audio cut out when Ian came in. So that was the second time I remember it happening. And I was like, what did he say during his intro? Because in that time, it was silent. I'm like, y'all just need to regroup and prepare for the second episode, because now you can gather all this complaints that you've been seeing on Twitter about the first episode and the audio and hopefully redeem yourselves, because right now it's looking a little bad in the sense of the quality of the first episode. The woman who stepped forward for him was Rochelle, and it was kind of interesting, their height difference. I don't know if it's because she was wearing heels or she's a tall woman, because remember I said she's a tall brunette that looks like a model. There was like a significant, like, okay, we got a taller woman, man, whatever, you don't care about the height, but you know, typically, sometimes the first person you pick does not necessarily mean it's the last person you end up with, but just kind of interesting dynamics in that with the height. I feel like sometimes the men are intimidated by height, but this man's like, I'm gonna go for it. This woman's beautiful, and he picked her. The Black man was the last man to come out. And lo and behold, the Black girl is picked last, because now all the 4 couples are selected. Now they're the 5th and last couple. Hopefully homeboy likes Black women, is what I was hoping. And I'm like, y'all got me effed, even though he's attractive, and we learned his name is Durang, but when he came out, he's like, I like that one. I don't know if he said that one, but he pointed at her and said Tima, and it's like, yeah, she's beautiful, she's attractive. And when he came to having to like decide who he wanted, luckily she stepped forward for him and he just selected her from that. So I'm like, Black love, but again, she was the last person selected. Hopefully she doesn't look into it like that, but that's what happened. It's kind of common, unfortunately, but that's just the reality of the situation. After everyone is selected and paired off, we gradually start to see everyone walking around the villa and like having their confessionals. And I'm like, this villa is like subpar compared to the South Africa villa they had for the UK, which was in South Africa. So I'm like, why didn't they just recycle that? Because that was like a 3-story mansion. And this looks like a nice place, but it wasn't the UK season 6. I think that's what season they're on. I already forgot now. But you know, like last year's, like the winter one. So I'm like, okay, but you know, it is what it is. And then we see Durang air humping the bed. I'm like, boy, let's just at least attempt to look appropriate for like the first episode. Maybe that's you on the low, but at least try and maintain like an appropriate, you know, it's Love Island. I guess nothing's appropriate, but that's just something I saw. Melly and Rochelle are basically talking down on Durang to Tema, who is her partner. Melly tells Timna that Durang gives F-boy vibes to her. I'm like, y'all just got here. It's the first day. He said something to you already? And where is this coming from? But then Timna also said that he needs to tone down like his energy, and it's like a lot already to start out with, and like we need to take things slow. And it seems like he's like an eager kind of person, and like we already missed stuff. We already have some cutouts of things. Not saying that stuff that was essential, but that just shows that they're already kind of talking, making some either good or bad first impressions already. Durang is talking to the other islanders. He's saying that him and Timna already follow each other on social media, like mutually follow each other. And I'm like, is South Africa this small? But that's something that also happens on the UK. We're like, oh, I already follow this person. I follow her from back home. Like, I feel like the US is just so big that would never happen when they pick like they handpick different people from different states, but that tends to happen. So I don't know if that just means that like, oh, we already know of each other, I already think you're attractive, so things will be good for them. But I just feel like she seems more like chillaxed and he's like very forward, and I don't know if that meshes. I know it's the first episode, but sometimes you have to look into that. Eventually everyone dresses up to drink and they play an icebreaker game, and I'm getting like really relaxed vibes from the Islanders on this season. I can't tell if they're gonna kick off and like fight and beef with each other, or they're just gonna like, I don't know. But they were kind of rating each other per usual, like who are the top 3 guys you like, who have you done, what would you do, like. But then when they started to get to like the nitty gritty about like, have you had a threesome, Rochelle, the tall brunette girl's like, can we not play these games yet? I thought that's for later, like why are we playing that right now? I'm like, are you being a prude already? I mean, you know what show you signed up for? People who have sex on the show in front of TV, they're making out, you're doing some humping games, like sexual position games, and you're like getting kind of weirded out by that. It's just, I'm not saying it's weird, but like, you know what show this is, right? Just saying. But she didn't like that and was like, I'm not participating in these questions. So they just didn't do it. Because they do talk about these things, like I think in the first or second game when they kind of reveal stuff and people start making judgments and everything. But I was just surprised by the response to that. But then they started teasing Durang for not knowing each other's names. I'm like, you've been here for like an hour. And I keep changing the time frame, but like it hasn't even been 24 hours. I don't even think I would have known the guys' names that I wasn't paired with, or all the girls I haven't talked to them yet. But I was like, relax, let him find them out. Maybe he's forgetful, y'all just got there. But then we started to see the producers talking over the islands. I said, hold up. Why am I hearing the like murmur, loud conversation while they were talking? And like when their lips were moving, I knew it wasn't them because it was not anything related to like the couples. So I was like, don't know what happened with the audio there, but we've also been having a lot of audio issues, so it didn't surprise me. But I was kind of like, yo, we need to get this together, y'all, before like people really are roasting on this show. The next morning, we see Durang and Tima having a chat, and she asked him about his past relationships. And I cringed when she said that because, man, that is a touchy subject and either goes left or maybe good. You either hear things that you don't want to hear, especially this early, or they talk on too long and you learn that like maybe they weren't over their last relationships, or why they haven't moved on to their last relationships, or why they're here. But the man was just talking on and on and on. I just felt like he divulged a little too much, and Tima was like, I'm like, at that point, I feel like that's your cue where like you're not even responding back to me or giving me feedback. Not saying she needed to, but homeboy was just talking and talking. I'm like, are you over your ex? Because he was talking about being like on a break, but talking to someone else. It just sounded very like, paint yourself in a good way, man. You're not doing that right now. But I'm still rooting for them because they're Black and they're the only Black ones on the show right now. So I feel like I have to root for them right now. But he was just going on and on. I just do not think she was expecting that long of an explanation from him whatsoever. But again, while I was listening to them talk, I was hearing another conversation. I don't know if that was the producers or that was like another Islander, but I was like, you guys got the audios mixed up, because they were talking and I was hearing like chatter in a different kind of way and like laughing. I'm like, they weren't laughing. It was like a serious conversation, if you might will, because he was talking about his exes. I'm like, I can't keep calling this stuff out. I don't want to seem like a hater. I don't know, this doesn't make me a hater. I'm just calling out the things I'm seeing. But I'm like, yo, like, get it together. I know it's the first season, but this is 2021. I feel like technology is advanced and we shouldn't be having conversations talking over conversations on TV, especially when you have other adaptations of this in the UK, Australia, and the US, and we're having audio issues like this. Not a good look, but just pointing it out. But after they had a little one-on-one sesh, they kind of all moved together to talk again, like as a group, everybody. And then they got a text. The text was kind of like confusing because the girl picked it up and then a guy picked it up. And it was like, hey, I got a text. And then it was a message from someone who was walking in. As we were reading it, we see a blonde woman, not Black, a blonde woman walk in, and there's no like dramatic music for her. We don't see her face, but again, we already know she's white. And as they're reading the text, it was like silent while she was walking in. And then the thing cut, and then the music started up again. And then we see her walking. And then after that, we saw someone say, I got a text. So I don't know what happened with the editing. I don't know if they, does that make sense? Like it was silent for her. and the text was received while she was walking. We didn't get like a play up of it. And then when we already saw her, they replayed it kind of at a different angle of the text coming in. So I was like, who edited this? I think that was a mistake because it was not it. I hope that if you watched it, you understand what I'm saying, or if the video that I watched somehow got messed up. I don't think so. It looked like that's how it aired, and I was very confused. I was like, okay, well, regardless, the summarization of that is that a new girl's coming in and she's blonde. Surprise, surprise, because apparently there's no Black people in South Africa, but I will correct you on that. But that was the end. There wasn't anything jaw-dropping. There was no one stepping on each other's toes, because again, they just got there, but everyone's mostly somewhat talking to each other's partners, not really like jumping out of that, because again, that girl cut off the who would you do kind of conversation because she wanted to hold off into the games. But that is my review, but I do want to get into the things outside of that. So before the show or anyone wanted to make an excuse about why there's more white people than Black people, I needed to see the demographics for myself on Google. So when I searched the demographics of white people in South Africa, it said 8.9%. When I searched Black people, it said 80. So the ratio between Black and white people is very astronomical, yet there is a significant amount of white people who are on here versus Black. Again, I'm not hating or putting, the ratio does not make sense. The statistics do not make sense. It's in Africa. I'm aware that there's white people there, but there's a lot of Black people in South Africa, and it's shot in Africa and it's South Africa, but there's not a lot of them. It's just confusing. I don't think this conversation is kind of dead or it's overplayed. It's just what the thing is. That's the reality of the situation. I feel like it needs to be pointed out. And I don't think they can really change it, because at this point, they've already set that foundation that yes, we did pick more white people despite it being in Africa. Also, with them doing this whole demographics with more white people than Black people, why did I see Bailey from Big Brother when I typed in Love Island South Africa? Like, she was the picture that was on there, so you can almost hope or insinuate there'll be Black people, but there wasn't. I also thought maybe the reason is because not a lot of Black people applied, right? I searched on YouTube South Africa Love Island like last week or something, not because like reviews, I was just searching it just to see what would come up. I didn't know people submitted their auditions on here. There was a lot of Black people, a lot of Black women who submitted applications, like audition tapes for South Africa. So there were people who applied. There were Black women who applied, and one was selected so far. Again, I understand that it's the OGs, there's only 5, but at least maybe 2, if not 3, if not half of the cast, the OG cast, have been Black, but just 1. And I saw several Black women who applied and submitted audition tapes. And this is on YouTube. What about off of YouTube? Like, there's different places to submit and like apply, I'm sure. Or when they go and like DM them on Instagram. But it's the lack of diversity for me. That's all I have to say. I also saw on Instagram or Twitter that they allegedly spelled Timna's name wrong. I don't know if that was a fake Photoshop to make the show look a lot worse. I'm not sure, but this is what they did. And I was like, this is awkward. But again, it could have been someone trying to make the show look worse because it kind of looked But if they did, that's a big F you, because that's the one you selected. You have her name everywhere, I'm sure, and you spelled it wrong if that's the case. Lastly, this is not the biggest thing, but I was on their Instagram page today and they posted something and they had nothing in the caption. It was like someone pressed their finger down the keyboard and forgot to let up and this said post. And then hours later, I saw they updated it. I was like, I screenshotted it because I was like, what was this? The effort in their marketing and all this stuff. We didn't even see the cast until it aired for a reason, because I feel like if they showed the cast beforehand, they would have gotten a lot of hate. Which they kind of did show little glimpses. They were showing their little cheeks and like their chests and stuff. But it was not like we were for sure knowing that there was only one Black person. But there's a lot of moments like, what is going on? We just started, yo. Or they just started South Africa. I'm not in South Africa, but I'm not trying to say that I have any ties to that. I'm just trying to watch it. But Lord, that's it, y'all. We're rooting for Timna, the Black queen we see so far. But let me know what you think of this review and see you in the next video, hopefully. Bye, y'all.